Greetings, my beautiful lovelies. It's Emmy. How are you? It's great to see you and welcome back. Today I'm going to be testing a recipe that has been going around and has been requested by a few of you, and it is the 2-ingredient onion ring chip. Now, the first thing I want to know is, what are the 2 ingredients? One of them has to be onion. What's the other ingredient? The second ingredient is cheese, more specifically Parmesan cheese. We are going to be making a sheet of cheese with thinly sliced onions on top, baked to perfection so that it's nice and crispy like a chip. It sounds fantastic, and it's supposed to be reminiscent of an onion ring. We're going to be making 2 variations today, the original and a pizza one that looks equally delicious and simple. I believe the origins for this recipe come from TikToks, and Stella Drivis more specifically created this recipe, and it looks delectable. So let's go ahead and get started. So this ingredient only contains 2 ingredients, but it also uses a tool that makes things very easy, and it's called a mandolin. It's essentially a slicer, has a nice big blade. It can be dangerous. It has a guard. Usually most of them come with a guard. I think all of them do, to protect your hands while slicing, but this allows you to make perfectly even and thin slices. Now, if you don't have one of these, you can use a knife, but it's going to be a little bit more challenging to get the slices perfectly uniform. But in this case, I don't think that matters so much. You just want them really thin. So let us prepare the onion. I'm going to peel the onion, and this recipe is called onion ring chips. So it is inspired by onion rings, which are deep fried rings of onion. So in order to get the onion rings, you cut the onion this way, slice it this way, so you get rings of onion. This is a close-up look of the mandolin. It has a little adjuster knob here, so that you can adjust the thickness of the slice. So while my onion is big and tall, I'm not going to be using my grip because it actually makes it more cumbersome. But as I get closer to the blade, I'm going to switch to this. So let's see how thick my slices are. So that looks a little thick for me. That's about 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to go a little thinner because ultimately we want our final results to be nice and thin and crunchy. We want the onion flavor, but we want that crispness, so it's like a chip, right? So I'm going to go thinner rather than thicker. Yeah, like that. This onion's a little wide, so I'm going to narrow it down a little bit for the width of my slicer. Okay, so now we're going. So you can see how efficient this is with the slicing. Switching to the grip. I think this is actually called a guard rather than a grip. I'm going to go ahead and do 2 onions. Very, very simple, right? Look how thin and beautiful those are. I've got a rimmed baking pan. This is called a 1/4 sheet. It's a nice size. This is called a 1/2 sheet. This fits in a standard oven, but the 1/4 sheet fits in my little oven here. I like the size very much. We're going to line it with parchment paper. Now this is pretty important. We want to be able to lift our sheet of cheese and onion off the pan. So we need to either use a piece of parchment or some kind of silpat, something that's non-stick. Next, we're going to use Parmesan cheese. This is the pre-grated stuff. I'm going to put a nice generous layer of that on our parchment. So I think part of the popularity of this as well is that it's keto friendly because we're using cheese here. So a nice even layer. Now we're going to arrange our onion slices right on top. Now this is purely for aesthetic purposes, this whole kind of arrangement. You do not have to do it this way. But again, if we're sticking with the onion ring theme, then having them whole is true to the name, I suppose. All right, I'm going to make sure I have enough on the edges so that we get a nice crisp finish or edge. Okay, so arrange slices. Now we're going to put some olive oil on top. Drizzle, drizzle, drizzle. And then we're going to add our seasonings. Lots of black pepper. And garlic powder. You could add any seasoning you like, whatever strikes your fancy. Italian seasoning. This is paprika, just for a little bit of color. The cheese is plenty salty, so I'm not going to add any additional salt, but there we have it. Now I'm going to pop this into a preheated 400-degree oven and bake it for 18 minutes or until everything is nice and golden and crisp. I hope that the onions are thin enough that we get a nice crispness. We shall see. All right, I'm going to pop this into the oven. Goodbye, friends. See you soon. So while that one's going, let's make a pizza version. This one's going to be the same base, Parmesan cheese. Next, we're going to add onions. Once again, onions. Onions, I think, are having a moment, right? Onion boil. Did you hear about the onion boil? That was a big trend that was going around. You should definitely check out that video in case you missed it. I tested out the onion boil. Psst, it's not really boiled. There's no boiling at all. It's pretty tasty though. This one's actually coming out even more perfectly than the other one. Although perfection is overrated, oh, it's so satisfying. Yes. Beautiful. I'm gonna add a little bit more cheese on top because this is our pizza version. And again, I wanna add a little more structure to this to make sure that it comes up in one sheet. Now we're going to take our pepperoni and arrange it on our pizza. Again, I fear the onion will not crisp if I do this way. Okay, we'll go like this. Again, we're gonna season garlic, a little bit of pepper, a little oregano. Okay. Oh, that smell makes me instantly think pizza. Boom, pizza version. Okay, same thing for this one, 18 minutes, 400 degrees, and we will come back and see how these onion ring chips taste. Hopefully they'll be crispy. See you in a little bit. Alrighty, my lovelies, I am back. It's been 18 minutes since I placed my cheesy onions into the oven and they are complete. And I took mine out about a minute early, but they look absolutely beautiful. So in terms of gauging when they were done, when the cheese took an even kind of orange color and a lot of the bubbling and sizzling kind of subsided and it had a drier appearance, especially around the edges. And when I touched the cheese, it felt crisp, so hopefully it is. I wish you could smell the kitchen. It smells absolutely fantastic. A combination of onions and cheese and garlic powder. So great. This has been cooling for about 10 minutes and we're gonna attempt to invert it and cut it. So I'm gonna flip it and then I'm gonna peel the paper back. Great. So easy. I forgot to mention, basically what we're making here is what they call in Italian frico, which is just cooked cheese, Parmesan cheese, specifically cooked and toasted to yummy, delicious, salty perfection. It concentrates the salty umami flavors and is just so delectable. And not only that, in my opinion, it changes the flavor of the cheese. It strengthens it, enhances it, and then you get this beautiful kind of toasty nuttiness. So essentially we're making frico with onions, but calling it onion ring chips, right? Alrighty, now we're gonna do, so now we can see the onions here. Now I'm gonna attempt to lift it up. Here we go, for the thumbnail. It totally worked. It totally worked, yes. Let me do it this way. Yes, it totally worked. Okay, let's cut it before I break it. And I'm gonna cut it just in between the onions rings. Ooh, sounding promising. Yes. Fantastic. Okay. In between the rings. Perfect. And you get the perfect little chip. Look at that. Here's the back. Golden deliciousness. Fantastic. Alrighty, my lovelies, a moment of truth. Let's give this a taste. Itadakimasu. Mmm. The outside, where the cheese is not covered by the onion, is delectably crisp, nutty, toasted, salty, but not too salty. And in the middle, you get a perfectly cooked onion. It's soft and buttery and sweet, and then partnered with this lovely saltiness on the outside is delicious. The middle part, where the onion is definitely not as crispy, but it's still delectable because the onion softens so beautifully and sweetens up. It's delectable. Oh yeah. Wow. So that was my favorite part. The little lacy edges right here are my favorite bits. They are the most crispy and they're the most nutty and just so delectable. I know what it's like. You know when you get a grilled cheese and then the cheese oozes out of the grilled cheese and then hits the pan and then just dries out and gets extra crispy, and then you eat those little bits first before you eat the sandwich? Those are my favorite parts, and that's what the edges of this is exactly like. You have to get it really dry and crispy so you get that lovely nutty toasted flavor. It's so good. Okay, let's try the pizza version. Here's the pizza version. Looks like a pizza, doesn't it? I'm gonna flip it over so we can peel the parchment. Nice and oily. Now we'll flip this over. We'll get a pizza version. Isn't it great? It's so perfect. Okay, so this one too we're gonna cut, but I'm gonna cut it in between the pepperonis so that we keep them whole. Ooh, look at that. Or here, listen to that. Ooh, yes. Oh, look at that. Ooh, looks like a beautiful flag of pizza. This is the bit that's gonna be the best right there. Onion ring chip as a pizza. Itadakimasu. So good. This one, I made a little bit wider border of cheese, so there's a little bit more of a skirt of cheesy crispness. Recommend doing that. Think of that as the crust. It almost tastes a bit like a Cheez-It, that cheddary baked concentrated cheesy flavor. Tasting a little bit of oregano in this one, but pretty close to the first one. Onion, again, is delectable, sweet, soft, perfectly cooked. Let's try it with the pepperoni. Here we go. It works. I really love when pepperoni gets baked up in the oven. It gets nice and kind of dried out, very similar to the cheese, and the oil kind of separates out of the pepperoni, gets crisp on the edges and cups up. Love that. But here, it might be a little bit much. That crunch. Yeah. I don't think it needs a pepperoni. The pepperoni adds a kind of toasted porkiness, a tiny little bit of that kind of pepperoni spice, that smoked kind of paprika spiciness to it, but it really doesn't need it. I like the simplicity of just the onion and the cheese. Definitely like the addition of garlic powder and the oregano. A little bit of the oregano makes it seem a little pizza-esque, and garlic powder. Yeah, I think err on the side of keeping it simple, in my opinion, and go for smaller in diameter onion slices because that allowed for more cheesy borderness, and I think that's really what is shining here. Listen. All right? Alrighty, my lovies, there you have it. Onion ring chips are fantastic and super easy. I would recommend making sure you keep an eye on it though for the last few minutes of cooking because these can burn pretty easily, and keep it thin. Everything should be thin, 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 and you should be able to have onion ring chips for yourself. That was a little squeaky. Stop. Alright, my lovies, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that one. I hope you learned something. Please share this video with your friends. Follow me on social media, like this video, subscribe, and I shall see you in the next one. Toodaloo, take care, bye! Alrighty, boys, let's see what you think. I think you're gonna like this one.